Let me switch that one. Check 1 2. Test 1 2. Check. Test 1 2. Come on, come on, come on. Black video. Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2. Test 1 2. Okay.
Okay. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. I hear something. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Ooh. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Okay, everybody. It is 1 o'clock, and we are getting ready to get started. Welcome, Heathrow, Altamont, and Lee Campus at Oviedo. We are so glad you're tuning in. Reminder, those of you here at Sanford, those of you at Heathrow, Altamont, and the Lee Campus, you do have paper feedback forms on your chair. Please get them to the member of the IER staff that is at your location. Here at Sanford, Brittany's in the back. I think Maggie is at Oviedo. Patty is at Altamont, and Jeff is at Heathrow. So please look for them to get you to turn in your feedback forms. Dr. Lorenz is looking at them closely. So I would like to now turn it over to Dr. Michael Bosley, who is our candidate for the Student Affairs VP. So, Dr. Bosley,
All right.
There you go.
I asked Lisa if we were going to sing a ballad since she had her microphone. And when I got here, I asked the gentleman in the back if I could have one of those Madonna mics, but that is not available. So I am so excited to be here with you today. It's a great day at Seminole State, and I am very excited to be here with you. So I'm going to tell you very little bit about some of the things that are really important to me and what I believe in. I know many of you have had the opportunity to review my credentials, and I'm happy to share that with you as well, but we'll do that during the question part if that's something that interests you. So I strongly believe that all of our students are individuals, and it is through our work with them that we meet them where they are and help them to get to where they want to be. I also believe, how many of you are student affairs professionals in the room? Great, yay, thank you for turning out. This is an important gig for you guys, I think, right? So I believe that we need to provide the best for our student affairs professionals. We need to equip them with the tools that they need to be successful to serve those students. And where are the rest of my community members, faculty, staff, students, donors, executives, all of those people? We need to partner with you to help embrace these students and get them to achieve their goals. So if we can all agree to those basic beliefs, we can be very successful together, because it's about what our students need and what they want and focusing on their needs. So I've worked in higher education for over 24 years, or right at 24 years. I've worked at the University of Central Florida. How many Knights are in the room? Go Knights, yes, okay, great. And then I worked at Valencia for 20 years. I do know some colleagues who were former Valencia employees in the room as well. And we miss them, and I miss you, and you miss me, I hope. So I've been doing a lot of work in both academic and student affairs. And my theoretical foundation is in student affairs, and my practice is both in academic and student affairs, campus operations, and leadership. And again, I'm very excited to be here, and I'd love to answer questions. I think that's our best use of our time, that we get to ask questions. The people out in the TV world, hello. Let me extend my heartfelt welcome to you, and wish I could come and shake your hands individually, but we'll send a group shake to the other campuses, and we hope that everything's working. You guys, they can hear us over there? Haven't you ever had that kind of a meeting where like one room doesn't know what's going on? About an hour later, like, are you saying something? Right? So anyway, can I answer some questions for you?
Who wants the mic first? Raise the hand.
All right. Oh, is there a routine?
It's usually always me. I don't know.
Okay.
When in doubt, Summer will speak. You know?
Okay.
Well, thank you for being here. My name
Thank
is
you.
Summer Pesatore. I'm an admissions specialist, so
Okay.
I spend a lot of time recruiting as well.
Great.
So my question is, a telltale sign of a great leader is promoting professional growth and excellence from within. Can you tell me about a time when you promoted the upward mobility of employees within your institution?
Sure. One of the things that is shocking to some of my colleagues and some of the people who work for me is that I often will send them jobs that I think they can do. That's a little alarming, right? If you're sitting at your desk and your boss sends you a job. But what it says is, I know you can do more than you're doing right now, and this might be something that might interest you. Maybe not now, but maybe in the future. One of my most important goals for people who have ever worked with me on my team is that when they leave me and go somewhere else, that they will remember that they were the most supported that they've ever been in their entire career. I strongly believe in that. I mentor lots of students. I work with doctoral students at UCF. I've been on many dissertation committees, and that's a big uphill battle for a lot of people. If any of you have done that, you know how hard it is and how important it is to have a really good committee member. I teach doctoral students. I've been promoting student affairs professionals for many years. Sometimes people just need that extra. I know that anyone on my team right now could do any job that they want to do, and the day that they would tell me they were leaving would be a very sad day for me, but also a very proud day, because anyone can do more, and if they want to, we need to invest in them. So not only do you support them with words, but you support them with opportunities for conferences, for presentations, for travel, unique opportunities that might come across your desk. This might be something someone might be interested in, right? And make sure that that is made available to her. Okay?
Okay, next. Who's the next one?
Lisa needs to exercise. She's been running around all day. Tonight she's going to get home and put up her feet. Good thing you have off tomorrow. Take the day off tomorrow, Lisa.
My name is Carly Walkover. I am a student retention and completion specialist. As you may be aware, we've been gold for the last 2 years. Part of that is college retention.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ideas that you have to increase our retention?
Sure. Well, we need more people like you doing this work, and we need and we need our colleagues in the room to help us with this. We need faculty and staff in other departments to help us with it. Every single contact with a student is an opportunity for retention. So when we have an interesting interaction with a student, we can have an opportunity to help educate them and help them stay enrolled. One of the things I've noticed about your data, Mark, thank you, I got your internal review, it's very good, is that our students here are not taking nearly as many credit hours as they could be, and across the board annually. And retention is promoted by persistence, okay? So if you're taking 1 or 2 classes here and then you come back and take a couple more classes, it's hard to retain unless you're supporting persistence. And how do we support persistence? We do that through wraparound services, making sure that students' needs are met, making sure that we know every student we're interacting with our faculty. If somebody brings something to student affairs and says, hey, I have this student, they have this need, we figure out how to help that student with their need. Now, we will not be able to cure systemic issues like homelessness and hunger and those some things, but we can help make it a little better for them a little bit at a time so that they can stay enrolled in school and they can persist and we can retain them. So the reason why I indicate that you have plenty of students not taking a lot of credits hours from a retention perspective is that those students are here, right? Your marketing team will tell you it's a lot easier to recruit a student that's already engaged with you than it is to go out and try to get a new one, right? So that's an internal marketing campaign. That's everyone learning from you as a retention specialist the strategies that we can use to help keep those students and keep them engaged, getting them more involved on campus, making it feel like this is a place that they want to be. Bottom line is, if a student doesn't feel like they belong, they are not going to engage. And it's our job, every person in this room's job, to make sure that students feel like they belong on campus. And it starts at every level of the organization. Is that good? Or do you have any?
No, that's good.
Okay. You guys are supposed to hold up signs that say 10. No, I'm just kidding. That's why I invited you to the front row. You didn't.
Hi, my name is Mallory Pigman. I am the re-enrollment and retention specialist. I work in admission and recruiting. We have a lot of non-traditional students here at the college. And can you tell me how you would increase recruitment for our adult learners here at Seminole State?
So it's 2 different ways. I'm in a similar situation at the campus that I'm at right now. My campus has a lot of dual enrollment students and the age trends young. So a couple of strategies I've used. One for re-enrolling. Any student that over the age of 25 on my campus that got a D, W, or F, or I in a class, we call them and we ask them, how could we have served you better? Okay? That's one way to increase the adult population. Not that hard to do. Any one of us could make that call. You don't have to be a retention specialist to do that, right? We might even get some volunteers from another department to help us out. It's just simply asking them. Sometimes that increases the and then we hand them off to you for a re-enrollment, right? It helps us find out where we're missing the boat, okay? So that's if a student is already in the system. If a student is not already in the system, one of the strategies that I've found is if you hold parent orientations sometime throughout the summer when you're doing your regular orientations, you often can find parents who have never thought about going to college. And they didn't know that Seminole had these amazing adult education programs, these amazing CTE programs, AS programs, certificate programs. They may just be very well inspired by their own student going to college, and you can recruit them. So that's another way to recruit and retain older students. Also partnering with corporate business and industry. In Seminole County, not too far from here, just on the other side of Lake Mary, there are a lot of businesses, a lot of software companies, banking companies. They have workers that need training. Maybe we don't know yet what that training is, and that's a way for us to get out. Maybe we go to their facility and provide some of that training. Maybe it's a non-credit course, but that encourages them and excites them about coming to Seminole State, and then they come to our facility and they see it. I think your adult pipeline is already here with your adult education. That is an untapped resource that this institution has that others do not. You have students who are on a college campus trying to finish their academic credentials so they could potentially go to college. Let's treat them like college students and encourage them from that point that they are Seminole State students and we want them to stay here with us. That's another group that we don't have to market to, they're already here. So that's how I would attack looking at some of the non-traditional students. And I think from an advising perspective, you have to be really thoughtful about those students. The same thing that you would do with a freshman coming in from a high school is not the same that you would do with a non-traditional student. Like you can't tell them take 12 credit hours. You know, they may have 2 kids and 2 jobs. And so I think advising becomes extraordinarily important. Taking it back to my belief about everyone is an individual, right? So we need to advise them as well.
Hello, my name is Lauren
Hi.
Fowler. I'm a student success specialist at the Lake Mary campus. I have a follow-up question to Carly, question focused on retention.
Okay.
In addition to increasing attention across the board, how would you focus on increasing retention for Hispanic students? We have
Sure.
a large Hispanic population.
Yep. So I'm currently serving at a Hispanic serving institution at a Hispanic serving campus. 39.1% of my students are Hispanic on my campus. So I'm responsible for their success as well. There's a difference between becoming a Hispanic enrolling institution and a Hispanic serving institution, okay? You've got to provide services for students, not just letting them in the front door, right? And if you look, now your data on success rates for every race and ethnicity is fabulous. It is really good. Most institutions would want to see success at the 70+% across the board, even looking at race and ethnicity. The problem is, that I see anyway, is that you're not getting them to graduation, right? So they're taking classes, they're being successful in the class they're taking, but they're not finishing, right? And finishing is really important because there's funding tied to finishing, right? We need to make room for other students to come back in. So it's really important that we make a concerted effort with all of our students, not just our underserved students, to help them get to finish. And how do you do that? You put them in contact with people like yourself, other retention specialists. You get them involved in student activities. You get them involved in athletics. You get them involved in it because they need to make a connection with the campus. They need to know that somebody cares, that when they don't show up for a class, somebody calls them. When they don't re-register the next semester, somebody calls them, somebody reaches out to them. Jeff was talking about text messaging. That's probably the better way to reach most of our students these days, right? There's ways that we build in strategies to connect with them because, back to the belonging piece, if they don't feel like they belong, they're never going to graduate and they're going to fall off the radar, and because nobody reached out to them, they're going to think it's okay. And many of our students, especially our underserved students, have been told for a decade or so in the public schools that they are not college material. Right? And I use this example for many of them. Students will tell us that when they were in high school, they were told to sit down, be quiet, just be there, right? And then when they come into our college classroom, which is just 3 short months after they graduate from high school, we ask them to come to class on time, prepared, to have an opinion, to share that opinion, and to speak out, right? We've done nothing to prepare them in that 3 months to do that. And it's a disservice, not just to our underserved students, but to all of our students. So anything that we do for underserved students or any type of student should help move all students forward. And I feel like you, as an institution, you're in a good place on the success rate. I just feel like we need them to take more classes and to complete. So if you looked at the data, it's very clear. Those are the things that stuck out to me the most, right? And how do we as an institution make a concerted effort to do that? Did I miss anything from here? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a question from the Heathrow campus.
Okay. Hello, Heathrow.
What has been the biggest challenge you have overcome during your time in higher education?
Sure. So there's a lot of challenges that we all experience in higher education. Resources are something that I think we can agree are a challenge across the board, especially working in the state of Florida. An individual challenge, challenges can also be opportunities. So I've done some really cool stuff in the past, and one of the things that was a huge challenge for me that was a successful outcome is I started a whole new campus. I now have a campus that serves about 8,000 students, about 3,500, 4,000 a semester. We have 20 full-time faculty and staff, about 100 employees on campus. It's an 85,000 square foot first building on a campus, and I've had double-digit enrollment growth each and every semester that we've been there. That is not an easy task to do. When enrollments across the board at all of our state institutions are declining. You do that in a lot of different ways. So overcoming that, and I think I see some of the opportunities here. Leanne represents a group of students that are really important to us. Our dual enrollment students can really help us move the needle on completion. They tend to take more classes, and they tend to be more focused, a lot more focused, right? Them and their parents, right? We got that because you do take on the entire parent population when you work with that group. Our international students also bring additional revenue streams to the college, 3 times as much as our regular students, and then our out-of-state students do as well. I think that Seminole State is poised to do something really unique with out-of-state students. When I walk on this campus, it feels like a public 4-year institution in a beautiful place with amazing facilities. This building alone shows me that this institution is really focused on students, right? You could have spent your money in lots of different ways, and you chose to spend it here, and it's amazing. And I know that the staff enjoys it, right? Because I know you were scattered all over the place before, and it's really nice. So that's important. So overcoming those types of obstacles, enrollment obstacles, are not things I'm unfamiliar with, and creating something from the beginning is also not something I'm too unfamiliar with. I don't know to ask that if the caller said that was okay, but they can call back, right? Yes.
Dr. Bosley, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Question for you. You spoke a little bit about it, but what do you see as the role of student life, student activities in helping the college accomplish the goals
Sure.
we're to meet?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to tell you that I'm very impressed. I have not met any single person on this campus that cannot smile, physically cannot smile. Everybody smiles, right? So that's step one. Student development can make this a place where people want to be, right? Student life experiences, you already have some really cool stuff. So for instance, a lot of people are like, oh, having a game room with computers where students play other people by themselves is not really student collaborative focus, but it is, because that may be the only thing that student does that connects them to the campus, right? So we need to create opportunities for students to be connected. And that comes through a couple of different ways. Facilities like this, and our people, and our smiles, right? Because every single one of our students comes to us with some kind of baggage, right? I have Margot's in the room, counselors, right? They have something, right? We all do as humans. We have some kind of baggage. We're not going to talk about that today, but so we have that baggage, and it's our job as professionals at a higher education institution, in particular, my colleagues in student affairs, to help make sure that we can eliminate those barriers and the baggage they bring with them, so they can focus on academics. And student life helps with that a lot. You probably have some people that they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a club or their relationship with you or Megan or something like that. The classes are okay, whatever, because they want to be involved. Now we need to get them, focus on their classwork too many times, but that attitude is really important. I've not met any students, last time I was here, I'm meeting students after this, that were not 100% excited about being here. I've reviewed your CESI results, and those are really hard to understand and get down to the point of but for the most part, they're really positive, right? Students have met a person cared about them, they had help, they went to orientation. All those types of things are really important to their success. So student life makes a huge impact, and I think it's one of the ways that we can all support our students by going to the events and being visible with our students, okay? And you also bring some money to the table, so we like that too. Activities and service fee, yes?
Hi, I'm Tommy Minton. I'm the Dean of the Mathematics Department. So what I'm curious to know is what you see should be the relationship between student affairs and academic affairs, and what specifically would you do to foster collaboration between those two areas?
So if I'm here, you will not see Dr. Ross and I apart. We will be the Wonder Twins. That will be, she's already dressed. I got my blue and gold. I can't stress enough that I don't see a difference between academic and student affairs. I've worked in both places. Guess what? We serve the same students who have the same needs. We just might look at it from a different perspective, right? So maybe my colleagues in academic affairs are looking at it from that cognitive domain, right? And my student affairs people are looking for the affective domain, like how together we have to treat the whole student. So I don't see it as a difference. I see myself as a bridge builder and making sure that we're in the right conversations together. There shouldn't be conversations about our students that happen in isolation. I know that if we could have joint meetings, I know that already some of that stuff happens. I promise you I haven't seen like there's two us and them parts here, but I can see that there's a lot more room for collaboration and that both parties really need to just focus on how they can help the student the most, and together we can achieve a lot more. So I've had lots of opportunities to build programs that bring academic and student affairs together. I do that on my campus, and we do it across the college. So I feel like I have some great ideas that can help really quickly within the constraints of what already exist here. Question?
Another question from
Yeah.
the Heathrow campus. How would you innovate in engaging with students who are only connected online?
Sure. So I looked at those numbers as well, and about 50% of the students at Seminole are taking some type of an online course, right? Not their whole schedule online, but a portion thereof. So that's a pretty big number, which means that some of those students, 100% of that 50%, may never step foot on this beautiful campus or the beautiful Heathrow campus or the Altamont or the Oviedo campus, right? So that we don't have that opportunity to engage with them. We have to make sure that our engagement practices are similar, but transition to what happens in the online world. Many students take online classes because they fit their schedules, not necessarily because they want to. They would much rather be in a classroom with a professor and have that time, but because this mode fits their schedule, they choose that. Now, from an accreditation perspective, so we are all accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, they require us to provide adequate support for our online learners, okay? Now, you can define adequate in a lot of ways. I like to take it to that next level and make sure that those students feel the same. So maybe one of the things I was thinking about when I was talking to faculty earlier today, what if an advisor was available right before registration in a Canvas course? Like on Thursday evening at 10 p.m., somebody's going to be available in our class, and maybe you're in multiple classes. They don't need to know that, but maybe you're through Canvas in the chat area. If you have questions about registration, it's time to register, right, for the next semester. What does that look like? How does that help us? Like on campus, you might have a sign up, you might have a table out, the advisors may be doing some different things, visiting classes, whatever. We need to create opportunities for students to do that in the online environment. Online is not going away. Hate to tell you, and if you're, it's just not going to go away. And we need to learn how to work with that. And we also need to make sure that we equip the people who are working in the online world. If somebody's a fabulous face-to-face professor or a fabulous face-to-face advisor, it does not mean that they're going to be the best online advisor. And we don't want to put people in uncomfortable situations. We can use them face-to-face, that's for sure. But maybe there's a retention specialist who works in the online world. Maybe there's a financial aid person who works in it. There's definitely different ways to provide those levels of support to the students. From an academic support, I know in Lisa's area there's probably tutors that are available online, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we need to let them know about those services right up front, that if you are going to be an online learner, these services are available to you.
Hi.
Hi.
I know you work with a lot of dual enrollment students.
I do, 7,000 of them.
I've seen your numbers. Can you talk about your collaboration with the K-12 partners?
Yeah, absolutely. So my campus sits at the corner of Orange and Osceola County in southeast Orlando in Medical City. So I work with both Orange and Osceola County. And I've recently taken over the responsibility of the dual enrollment department after Dr. Lewis left. And so I work with both Orange and Osceola County administrators at the highest level, the superintendent, assistant superintendent level, and sometimes the superintendent. And what we've gone to now, because there's some revenue models that are different in dual enrollment, we have gone to offering less classes on site at the high schools and bringing more students to campus. And what I've done is I've worked with the assistant superintendent to actually pick the classes that are going to be offered on the campus. So dual enrollment is twofold, right? It's acceleration, right? But it's also access. So what we've done is we've looked at the schools with the lowest college going rate, and that's where we put our dual enrollment classes. The ones that have really high college going rates, we let them come to campus. And the county has been providing buses for the schools that are also underserved, that Orange County has. And Osceola County, it's a much different perspective. Very few classes are offered on site at the high schools. Most of the students come to our campus. And what we do for them, though, is they also bus students to the campus. They have bus riders that come over at 8:30 and 10, and we hold seats for them in those classes. So that's a partnership with academic affairs. Leanne can't just hold a bunch of seats in a bunch of classes, right? You have to work with the academic colleagues, the math department, the English department for those front door courses to hold those seats so the students can get them when it's time for them to register, and we often hand register them. So I do think that it is an untapped resource in Seminole County. As a parent, Seminole County high school student, our school district does not share a whole lot of information about dual enrollment. It's kind of like one of those, if you find out about it, a lot of it depends on the high school, but I think we can do more of that. And it does increase the revenue. It is a smaller portion of revenue, but it's a great way to fill capacity at times of day that you have empty seats where you can put dual enrollment students as well, or strategic programs where you want to increase that. So, any other questions? Okay.
Hi, I'm Tracy Harbin. I'm a professor of political science.
Great.
I was wondering, I kind of have a two-part question because
Right.
I would like to hear
That's
more.
fine.
Okay, good.
I think I can handle it. Remember the
has-
second part, okay?
It has to do with collaboration with faculty and recognizing the fact that faculty have a lot to do in the classroom, but they also see the students a lot.
Right.
So the first part is to speak on how would you encourage high-impact practices to be used by faculty, whether that's study abroad or research or internships, et cetera.
Sure.
And then the second part of the question is your thoughts and philosophies towards utilizing faculty for purposes of advising.
Okay. So let me start with the second part first, because I think that our faculty are advisors. They're doing it every day in their classrooms, right? They see you as a political scientist. They want to know how you did this, what school you went to, how can I get a job in this area, right? So you're doing that kind of advising. I want to make sure that you have the tools to do the advising that you feel most comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable with telling them which course to take next and what sequence, I want you to refer them back to an advisor in the advising center. We'll be happy to help. But I want you to know who that person is, who understands your discipline, and can be ready to serve your students. I also would like for you to come with us when we go to do recruitment events, because students really like to meet faculty. Parents like to meet faculty. You're like in the world of the things that are most important at a college campus next to our students is our faculty, right? So if there are things that you feel comfortable doing and we make those opportunities available to you, we'd love to see you. From the high impact practices perspective, there's a lot of opportunities, and I think student affairs can really partner on some of those, right? So all of the out of the classroom experiences that Mauricio was just talking about, Jan has got some funding to do some co-curricular programming. I think we would love to have ideas for that. Like if you wanted to host a debate in your classroom and you wanted just cookies or whatever, we could probably figure those types of things out. I don't know how much undergraduate research is done here, but there are some grant opportunities for undergraduate research. That is an important high impact practice. So if you're in a science area, I currently supervise all the sciences on my campus, so I do have some faculty doing that, and there's some NSF grants out there and some USDA grants out there. So that's another area where we can partner with Tony and her team and our faculty. Like if you have an idea, we can reach out to the grants team and see how we might be able to help move that forward. So, sure.
I'm going to state the obvious. Seminole State is going through some transition and changes.
Really?
Really? Yeah, quite a few of them. And so, but my question is, we have people who are excited about change and we have people who are resistant to change. So my question is, can you give an example of something that you've implemented change and how you've worked with staff to buy in who may be resistant to what's going on?
Okay. So I'm going to take a philosophical stance on this. Buy-in is not great. Buy-in means that somebody's giving up something, right, when they do that. So if I come in, I present all these changes, and I want you to join me on this change, I got to put some stuff in there first, right? So I got to build a relationship with you to make sure that you already trust me. A lot of it is based on trust. right? Most all the work that we do. So if you didn't notice, if you work in a higher education institution, we are in the relationship business. We work with humans, right? We serve humans who go out and serve other humans, okay? So elementary-wise, we need to be kind to each other. We need to develop trust with each other so that when we want to get something done, you know that I'm doing it from the best place possible, which is to help students, okay? So I have led lots of change. Some of them have been awesome. Others of them have failed in my face, okay? So I'll tell you about one that failed because I have this theory that the final exam schedule is a waste of time, okay? It causes lots of trouble. Like, I don't know if yours is different here, but you have like an extended period of time. You don't, okay, so we have that. So we're like very antiquated. We have this extra week at the end of the semester where people give exams when they want to give them, even though we told them when to give them, which messes up the rooms, and everybody's all over the place, right? And students have conflicts, even though they're not supposed to have conflicts. It takes 5 mathematicians to develop the final exam schedule. So I presented to the calendar and scheduling committee that I think from a student perspective, for instance, childcare, right? If you have childcare and now you have to go to class at 7 a.m. and used to go at 9, it's hard to do that. Or you have to stay past 10:30 and you ride the bus and the last bus leaves at 9:45. It's hard to do that. So I went to calendar and scheduling committee. They were all in. I thought, this is it. I finally have made this impact because I also know that in the parking lots during final exam week, nobody's there. Most faculty don't give a comprehensive final. Sometimes they give it in 2 or 3 parts. Sometimes it's a performance thing. It just depends on the department. The math people, they do give but a lot of the other departments give something a little different. Maybe it's an essay that they do at home and they turn in. So I got it all the way through calendar scheduling, which is a broad array of people, like maybe 100 people. I don't know. This is a big group. And I was so excited. And then it went to faculty. And they were not as excited. They were like, all you're trying to do is fix this so that you can fix logistic issues so that you don't have double booked classrooms. And like, yeah, that's part of it, but not my intent at all. So just so you know, we still have a final exam schedule. And I still complain when I pull into the parking lot and no one is there during final exam week. So I don't know. I did lose on that one, and that was a change I really wanted to have happen for a lot of, I thought, really good reasons. And maybe someday everyone will get back to it. So I have been on the failure side of change. To address your point about people who don't want to change, I think that some of that is intrinsic to them, right? And I can do all kinds of dog and pony shows. I can sing and dance and try to get them to change, and they're just not going to. But when you change and we're all moving together, focused on a goal to help our students achieve their goals, and everyone's moving in the same direction, eventually they'll come along, or they won't. And then we'll know that it's time. Like, they can move on, they can find something else. I mean, there's a point in which you have to make that decision too. Like, if you're not happy and I'm not happy and they're not happy, then no one's going to be happy. So, you don't want that to happen, but sometimes it has to.
Question from
I have
in the back.
2 questions from the Heathrow campus.
Heathrow is busy today.
What is your experience with guided pathways, and how do you involve community partners in that program and student affairs as a whole?
Okay, so formally, I don't have a whole lot of experience with guided pathways, but 10 years ago, when I formulated the Collegiate Academy, which was our first collegiate high school type program, I developed 26 degree tracks, which are very similar degree pathways. So we took 26 different majors that our students wanted to do. We aligned them with the outcomes and the prereq requirements at the university. So we did USF, UCF, FSU, like a whole bunch. We aligned them all with our Valencia course, and we built degree tracks. So I feel like that's a precursor to guided pathways. Guided pathways is a pretty simple concept, right? You figure out what students want to do, right? You help them get on that path, and you keep them on the path until they finish. It's a very simple concept. So my degree tracks were great, and they were helpful. Of the 400 students in our program, most of them ended up in a couple. So I think that we had a variety, like you have a ton of different programs. Most of them ended up in AA General, AA STEM, AA Pre-Health, like those types of areas, because they wanted to go into one of those types of tracks. So we did end up narrowing them from 26 to about 5 or 6. And I did that not alone, just so you know. I had advisors and counselors helping me each step of the way when we're using the catalog and working with the other institutions' catalogs to develop this so that students had a path. one of the things that we find in dual enrollment a lot is that they don't have a path. They sometimes will take sociology, psychology, and anthropology. I don't know about how it is here, but all three of those count for the same thing at my institution, right? And it's a lot of ologies that you don't need, and they don't transfer. They're going to transfer as one of them, right, if they meet that credential. Sometimes they'll transfer as electives, right? But most institutions will only apply it to the area, like for the, so they need some help, and that's how I address that help. So from a guided pathways perspective, looking at Achieving the Dream, American Association of Community Colleges. I have researched, I looked at yours online. I think they look fabulous online. I bet it's a lot to manage. It looks like a lot to manage, just there's a lot of things and places. And I think from a selection perspective, it's really interesting. But I also know that the courses that they take in the first semester should keep as many doors open as possible. So for instance, if you take the stats math pathway, you're done. Right? You're finished your math, but you may not have the math that you need to go into a STEM area, right? You need to do the 1105 and so on and so forth. So I am excited about the opportunity to work with guided pathways, but I also will take us back to my original point that students are individuals and we need to work with them where they are. So you asked about involving outside people. So when I did the program at the high school, we involved the OCPS folks as well, and they helped, because we also had to align, so we not only had to align them at the college to the university, but the high school courses that met the requirements at the high school within those degree tracks. So it was a very complicated process, very well meant, but then we ended up bringing them back down to something a little bit more manageable. So.
Question here?
Yes. From you, Brittany?
Yes.
So Brittany's been following me all day.
Collecting surveys. Yes.
And I was going to ask security to see if they could take care of it.
I did tell him early on about just following you.
I know.
Watch out. So in my role at the college, I manage the surveys from students and from employees. And feedback that we get from both students and employees is that some of our enrollment processes can be a bit challenging. Mm-hmm. So what experience do you have in identifying possible barriers to enrollment? And what would be your first step in improving business processes?
So I'll use dual enrollment because that's my most current experience with it. So in dual enrollment and in the Collegiate Academy, I do everything from application to graduation with my team, okay? And we don't necessarily involve all the other units of the college. We do work within the system, and we do have colleagues that help us with that, but from beginning to end. In the short period of time that I've been in dual enrollment, I found some bottlenecks, right? We have an application deadline that we pick, right? And it happened to be the one for fall was during March, where we have a spring break. Osceola Schools has a spring break, and Orange County has a spring break. So there are 3 weeks of that 4-week cycle that one of us is not available to talk with the other, okay? That's not gonna happen anymore. We're just gonna move it up or move it back, get it out of that. So that was a simple bottleneck because the counselors couldn't call us, and then when we were back, we couldn't call them to get the information we needed. Also, PERT scores are challenging. We get a repository from Orange and Osceola County, and we download that. Well, Orange counties didn't work this year. And we again set an arbitrary date. April 15th is the deadline for PERT scores. I'm like, why? Like, oh, we need to get it on, there's all this stuff we need to do. I'm like, okay, but I'm not gonna hold the students in harm's way if they took the test at the high school and we just couldn't get the test score. We're gonna take them until we're sure that all of them have been turned in, okay? And it ended up being like May 6th or 7th, but it got us there. And we were fine. We don't send out our denials like May 10th or 13th. So that is a complicated piece. One of the things that you need to do in order to find the roadblocks is hear from students, but also kind of lay out a whole business process analysis. I don't feel comfortable telling you where the bottlenecks are until the team and I can look at them and see, like, this room would be perfect. You could start over here and all of our interactions with students, all of our interactions with students, and then go over to here. And believe it or not, everyone in the room would go, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we're doing. Like we could fix this. I could move this part of the process, and then you could move this part of the process. I feel like, I know that our students are more prepared to learn when we help them get through the process as efficiently as possible. So if we can make sure that by the first day of class the students are ready, we'll make that happen. There are some unique needs in the student affairs staff. I met with them this morning. There are some staffing needs. and I talked also with the executive team today, and that there are some goals at the college that are going to require us to do some more, then we need to figure out a way that we can help each other achieve those goals. And that might be some cross-training to help break down those bottlenecks at certain parts of the semester. If there's a time, let's say there's a 2-week window when Roseanne and her team are swamped, right? Maybe we could figure out ways to help them, because if we can't get them through the financial aid process, they can't get through the rest of the process. They can't register, and they can't start classes, which is really important when we want them to take classes, because that's the most important thing to them and to us, right? So those would be some of the things I would think about. I really can't tell you specifically because I haven't had a chance to sit down with the team and look at all the processes, but I know what the results need to be, and I know that there's definitely some things along the way that we might be able to tighten up on. Yeah.
Thank you. What role do you see the Career Development Center playing in students' development and retention for the college?
Okay, that is interesting because I have a unique perspective on that. I think, and the career people are gonna be like, what? Let's put this out here as the crazy guy who came for an interview. I think that the Career Center should be engaged with students at new student orientation. I think that we should begin with the end in mind, that at new student orientation there should be a cap and a gown in the room. I'll wear it, unless anybody else. Jeff said no. And that the Career Center should be engaged with the students at the beginning of their career. Because at the end, it's too late, right? And we only have them, even though some of them stay for a while, we technically only have them for 2 years. Some of them stay till 3 or 4 or 5. But we've got them to get them to thinking about what is it that I want to do and what resources are available to me. It's as simple as bringing the Career Center person to the orientation. Say, hi, I'm with the Career Center. Our office is over here. Don't wait until your last semester. Don't wait till you apply to graduate to come and see us. We're here now. And here are some tips that you can do. You can get involved in student activities. You can get involved in athletics. You can get involved in community service to build your resume now. Imagine a new student orientation where they started their resume, right? Think about that. That would be kind of cool, right? Like, graduated from Seminole State College in 2022, and I started in 2020, right? Like, you know, like, so what we know from research and from practice is that students who have a plan succeed, students who write that plan down succeed even more, and students who tell someone about the plan do even better. Think about that in your own life, right? I mentioned this before. How many, you don't have to raise your hands on this, how many of you pay for a gym every month and never go there? Right? So if you had, like, sometimes if you go with a friend, you're more likely to go. Like, I'm gonna see Jan there at 6 o'clock. No, sorry, I'm still, I'm not gonna see you there at 6 o'clock. But you know what I'm saying, like those types of things. If you go with a friend or you go in a program, that's why some of these gyms do really well that have those group classes, right? So, and then you tell someone what your fitness goals are, right? I'm gonna lose 10 pounds and we're gonna work on this together, right? It's a simple concept. People want to be around people. So if we begin with the end in mind, we can easily help these students realize that the career services are important and that they should be thinking about them now and not in the future. So I feel like new student orientation is a really important place for that to happen. It's really like the student's first class, and it should be treated that way. It should have a curriculum, it should have learning outcomes, and it may already have that here. I'm just not familiar with it enough. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm Scott Freeman, professor of psychology.
Great.
I'm increasingly concerned, if not alarmed, I'm sure a lot of us are, about the mental health in our community, specifically to our students. Mm-hmm. With that said, what is your approach in dealing with that, specifically to student services, to faculty, and maybe most importantly to the counselors?
Sure.
That are working.
So I had lunch with some faculty and 3 counselors were there, and Margot's in the room, and they told me that they're like 70-ish recently, like you've had 70 personal visits, which usually means that there's some type of a traumatic experience, that they're having some type of mental health, more that's just affecting advising. College campuses are the most wonderful place in the world. I think that's why you all work here, but they can also be one of the most dangerous places because we have students from all different walks of life. We have faculty and staff from all different walks of life who are potentially dealing with emotional issues that we are not prepared for. Our counselors, we have very few of them. They're limited. We actually only have one, I think, that is licensed, and that is challenging. I think universities have a really strong model for counseling centers on campus, and they provide that level of support. And I think the institution needs to decide, are we going to provide triage and refer out? Got it. Or are we going to make a concerted effort to provide mental health counseling? If we do that, then we need to invest in that, right? And that's the decision. Right now, it seems like from just what I've gathered from today that we're doing triage and then referring out. And I think, Margot, you guys said use the company Aspire, similar to what we do at Valencia. But those counselors can play a role in leadership and programming to help faculty be prepared to deal with mental health issues. So you're a psychologist, so you know my psychologist on my campus, she often helps me with some of these situations because I do not have a counselor at all on my campus. I'm myself and the director of student services are doing all of the counseling, and then it's challenging. Now some of our advisors are doing the referral, but if there's an issue that relates to conduct, it comes to my office. If there's a student that's going to harm themselves or harm someone else, we work with that with security. All of our Title IX issues come to our office, so we, on a much smaller scale, are dealing with those issues. So I really do think that the leadership team at the college will need to decide which way we're going to go. There's really not a whole lot of options. There's yes or no, and then we're going to support that to the best of our ability. So if it is, we're going to triage, we're going to make sure that everyone's equipped with as much information as possible so they can be helpful, and we're going to get our faculty. There's a program, First Aid for Non-Mental Health People. It's like a pretty, anyone can, you could do it for us if you'd like. Sign them up, Jan, get that, get Steven saying that. So it's a simple concept for someone that's trained to train others on how to treat with situations. It's as simple as simply saying, like, let's say you have a student in your class whose something has changed and they're expressing that through grades or not coming to class. You seeing that and getting it to one of our counselors, what I would say, in a perfect world, you could get that to anyone on the student affairs staff and they would know what to do with it. They can't treat the person therapeutically, but they would know what to do, how to get that person help, and that we would follow up. And that's the kind of guarantee I would want to partner with our other departments on, is that when you reach out to someone in student affairs, you're going to get exactly what you need, and they're going to follow up with you, okay? The answer might be no, if it's something other than dealing with a student who's in trouble, but at least we'll let you know what the answer is, and we'll try to help you from that. And that's important. That's something I've always done in all of my jobs, is make sure that people get followed up with. So.
Next question's right here.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
It's a little warm in this room, but
you seem to be fairly, it is hot in here.
Good, it's not just me.
You seem to be fairly familiar with the challenges and the potential that the college has currently. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering, from a grants perspective, we're always looking for innovative ideas to solve some of those problems and close the gaps. And are you familiar with some current research that we might be able to use that could address a student affairs issue?
I'm hopefully optimistic about some stuff that was happening this week in the federal government. One of our colleagues from Bunker Hill College presented to a federal hearing about wraparound services, that maybe the federal government should start funding some of these services like mental health counseling. I'm hopefully optimistic about that. And there may be some new funding streams, because imagine if we could bring that in, whether that means staffing or training through a grant, that would be really helpful. So in the past, currently I'm a co-PI on a USDA grant, which is not one of the areas that you typically would use in a grant, but we're working with the University of Florida. We're providing agriculture and life sciences through articulation, so we're developing degree tracks, pathways for students to go straight into the University of Florida from Osceola County Public Schools. So if they take all the class with us, get the A, it's like a direct connect to UF, only for certain programs. And so that was an area that I'm most familiar with. What is a relatively, I don't know if it's a newer funding stream, you know better than I, but it's definitely a different funding stream, because I'm used to NSF and Title III and Title V. This particular one was an interesting one, and I've been enjoying serving as the co-PI for that. Are you all classified as a HSI? I know your numbers look like, okay, good, because the numbers looked right. So that would make us eligible for Title V, and Title V is a great place to infuse student services in cooperation with academic affairs. Title Vs are huge, and their infrastructure for the most part. So we implemented Ad Astra as part of our Title V grant at one of our campuses, and I'm using that, and that's a software system that helps us optimize room utilization. And we also added all these virtual technology classrooms to our campuses, so you could have a class here and beam it over to Heathrow or Oviedo. Really high-tech cameras in all the rooms, video screens, and we used that grant to fund those resources. So it changes the dynamics because it's very interactive. A faculty member can have 10 students over here and 3 students at the other location. In either of those cases, we would have probably canceled both of those classes because neither of them get to whatever the threshold is. So this gives us the opportunity. Some of you might remember telecourses from 1,000 years ago. These are much better than but expensive. And a title grant can really help with those types of things. So that would be a funding stream I would look at. I think that private sources may be more interesting these days. The institution that I'm at right now just received a grant from the Helios Foundation. It's a $9 million grant to work with Orange and Osceola County Public Schools and sharing data. So that's a private organization coming through the Hispanic area. I served on the Hispanic Heritage Scholarship Fund of Metro Orlando for many years, and that's also where I was connected with Helios. So that's an interesting group. Now that we are a Hispanic serving institution, it may open up some of those doors here as well. And what they're looking for is completion in those areas. They're not looking for a bunch of services that keep students engaged. They want to move the needle on completion, and I think that's an area that at this institution we can focus on, and there are probably some great grant opportunities there. So from a student affairs perspective, I think the team is ready to partner on grants. I would not want to be the standing alone and leading a title grant, but I think collectively at the institution, if the executive team and the partners in academic affairs are willing to do it, a title grant is a great way to move the needle and to infuse a lot of money in a relatively short period of time. That's where Tony and I met, right? When you were leading a Title III grant. Title III? 3. Yeah. Yep.
Hi, Babuka, Dean of Social Science.
Nice to meet you.
Ask your colleagues at Valencia to say 3 things about you. What would they say and why?
Okay, that's great. So my colleagues, not the people who generally work with me. So my colleagues would say a couple of things. That I am their go-to person for everything. If I don't know the answer, nobody does. No, just kidding. No, my deans who are my colleagues call me all the time. I've been at the institution for a while and I'm happy to help them. So they will often, the first call they will make is to me. That I would never ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And that I have a really big heart for our students and that every single decision I make is based on our students' success. And sometimes those decisions are hard decisions to make. So I hope that they would say those things. You all are doing an extraordinarily thorough job on background checking. My colleagues have spent a lot of time answering plenty of questions. and I hope that you will see some of that when the data comes back. So, yeah.
Okay, one more here.
Yes,
okay.
Sorry.
Hi, I'm Beverly Sanchez, the Community Engagement Coordinator within Student Life. One of the areas that we're trying to increase among faculty, students, and staff is civic engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the programs or strategies that you've seen to have improved this?
Okay, so you're wanting people to go out into the community and do the piece? Okay, great. So are you guys involved with Campus Compact in the state? Okay, great, good. So when I was in student development a long time ago, we started working with Florida Campus Compact, and they have an organization that provides a lot of resources for people like you to make those connections. Students, from a faculty academic perspective, and my faculty and academic colleagues in the room, students don't do a whole lot of optional things. So we would love for some faculty to make it part of their course to do service learning or to get involved in the community in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes that's the one thing that will help spur them to continue. So you need an academic partner to do that, and we need to be doing that as administrators and faculty and staff, right? So maybe within the Student Affairs Division or the whole college, we pick a service program to do on a certain day during a certain year, and we do that. And we highlight that, we put it on Facebook, we put it in social media, so that our students can see that our faculty, staff, and administrators are also contributing. That's how you get people engaged in this kind of. Some of them are going to do it because they had a great political science professor who talked about how she was involved in canvassing or working at voter registration booths, those types of things, right? They're going to see that and they're going to be inspired to do that. But it's our opportunity to provide them with the documentation for that. So maybe, are you guys using any co-curricular transcript or anything like that? Okay, great. So that's a way for you to help the student and the faculty member. do this with your faculty member, I'll be able to document it and you can move it on your transcript when you move on to the next level. So, yeah, a lot of it is getting in there and doing it ourselves. So.
Okay, we've got time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Okay.
I'm on Lisa's time schedule. I said I'm here all day, so if you have 15 more, Lisa will drag me out of here. So.
Hi, my name is Kathy Wertling. I'm a student success specialist also.
Okay.
Currently, we utilize the one-stop model. That's where we work, where we go and we, the students come to us, admissions, registration, records. But how would you feel like that would collaborate with the academic side?
So, first of all, the students don't see us as any different. Okay, they see us as one institution, and they see anyone that wears a Seminole State name tag, has a T-shirt on, is here to help them as someone who should be able to help them. Okay, so I think that's really important and key to this, that it's not this happens in isolation. So a lot of the things that you do are really important to the students because it does break down barriers at the beginning, right? It tells them that I can see one person and I can get admissions, records, financial aid, all of this stuff started. Right? And then if I need something else, I can go see someone who specializes in that. I think we need both. We need specialists and we need generalists. And oftentimes, some of the questions that you spend your day answering could probably be easily answered on an information table or through an FAQ. They just need to know who to ask. And we can equip some of our colleagues to help us during those peak times, right? So if somebody from academic affairs is available, or faculty members available, somebody else is available, IT staff's available, they can answer some of these basic questions to get your queue down so that you can answer the more difficult questions, right? But we need to help people know what those questions are and how to answer them. Because what we don't want is random people advising students, right? Especially their buddies and their friends. How many of you know that that happens a lot, right? Have you heard it with your own children, right? Well, Johnny said this. Well, when did Johnny get a degree? Yeah, does he have access to PeopleSoft? Because I'm not sure if that's gonna work so well. So I think that collaboration is extraordinarily important, and if we all are going towards the same goal, right? If we all want to increase the graduation rate or we want to increase the amount of classes students are taking, we all have to be in. It's all in, because not one part of the institution is going to fix something, because they're going to get bogged down somewhere else, right? So it's a little bit of taking off our hats and putting on the neutral hat, right? Or maybe putting on a cape or something and sailing off into, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hey, my name is Lisa Giandolvi. I'm Assistant Director of Career Development Center, so we are represented today. Thank you for that. But we do have the privilege of meeting with a lot of students at a lot of just various places, prospective students, current students. We help them with exploring majors, we help them with job shadows, internships, and then employment. And so we also represent a body of people who are very important partners, our employer partners.
Yes.
So can you describe a time, a program that you were involved in where you integrated employer partners?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
2 areas that I think are really important. I am responsible for the associate degree in biotechnology laboratory sciences on my campus, which has a required internship, so I work very closely with the internship department, and the program chair and I have goals in our annual check-in to increase the number of employers that are available for our biotech students. And we do that through work with our advisory board, making connections with them, going to BioFlorida, going to different conferences and making connections so that our students can get the internships that they need so they can get jobs. Also, I work in the Lake Nona community with our partners, the Tavistock Corporation, Nemours Children's Hospital, the University of Florida, the USTA, we used to be Sanford Burns, not there anymore, and UCF College of Medicine. We work together to provide internships for our students in a variety of, including jobs. So some of our biotech students, after they graduate, have gone to the Guidewell Life Sciences Incubator and have gotten jobs there, and these jobs are great. And our students are being placed at the highest level that they can be coming out of the biotech program. Business and industry partners are huge in a lot of ways because sometimes they don't know that we need them, right? And you might be talking to them. So when I go to a community event and somebody asks me, how can I help the college? I often ask them about internships because it's an easy ask. Do you ever have an opportunity that you need a student to work in your department, whether it be free or paid or whatever, where they can learn something? Any one of us can do that at any social event whenever we meet anyone from business and industry, and then we hand them off to you, right? Like give us a card or whatever and say, here's the person who will help you get that to happen. So we know, I think all of us do, that experience is important. The federal government is even looking at apprenticeship programs and funding those because we know that our workforce is changing and that many of the jobs that we need to survive, we don't have people to do them, right? So apprenticeships, internships, practical experiences are becoming more and more important and are being funded through some of the federal financial aid guidelines. So I think we need to partner. We all have connections, and they don't even know that we need them until we ask them. Okay? Were you here when I got to talk about the Career Center? Okay, good. Okay. I got my Career Center bumper sticker. So.
Okay.
That went really fast.
Yes, it did. And now you have a chance to relax. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Heathrow, Altamont, Lee Campus, make sure you see your IER person and hand in your feedback forms. Those of you here in the room, do not let Brittany see you walk by without turning those in. Those of you that watched it live stream at your desks, there is a login link that was in the email that May sent out. Please fill that out and make sure that you give your feedback. Dr. Lorenz is, as I said earlier, looking at these very carefully. Thank you. Let's give Dr. Bosley a welcome.
Have a great day. This is an amazing turnout, so thanks.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're up.